It arrives silently. Usually you don't even notice it until it is too late. You go to sleep and your backyard pond is clear. You wake up and the surface is covered in a thin, vibrant green film. By the next day, the water has disappeared, completely buried under a suffocating living blanket. You are looking at a biological explosion. This organism is not just a plant, it is a copying machine. Under the right conditions, it can double its entire mass every 16 hours. One tiny speck becomes 2, 2 become 4, 4 become 8. It grows without soil, it grows without seeds, it grows without permission. To the modern homeowner, this is a nightmare. They call it a Tier 1 aquatic nuisance. Homeowners associations across America panic when they see it. They hire professionals. They pay up to $800 an acre just to poison it out of existence. They look at this green explosion and see an infestation. They see a mess that needs to be cleaned up with heavy chemicals. But they are wrong. They are looking at the world's most efficient biological factory. While they are spraying poison, this green plague is quietly doing something that soybeans and corn can only dream of. It is turning sunlight into pure protein faster than any other multicellular organism on Earth. We are declaring war on the very thing that could save us. We are burning down the bakery because we don't like the smell of the bread. Welcome to Ancestral Soil. To understand why we fear this plant and why we spend millions to kill it, we have to travel back to a time before chemicals, to a place where this weed was treated like royalty. Let's leave the manicured lawns of Dallas behind and travel 8,000 miles to the wetlands of Southeast Asia. Here, an elderly woman crouches beside a pond filled with the exact same green water. But she is not holding a bottle of poison. She is holding a clay pot. She gently scoops up the floating green spheres. She washes them 3 times. Tonight, this will not be thrown away. It will be made into a soup. In Thailand, they call it Kai Nam, literally, eggs of the water. In Vietnam, it is the humble Bao Cam, a familiar sight in every village pond traditionally used to feed livestock, but silently holding the nutrition of a king's meal. This was not famine food eaten out of desperation. It was chosen. Ancient Chinese texts from the Han Dynasty dating back 2,000 years documented physicians using this plant to treat fevers and inflammation. Buddhist monks seeking the path of purity consumed it because it was a life force that required no killing and no violence to harvest. They understood something we have forgotten. This tiny plant is a distinct biological entity. It is not trash. It is a vegetable that harvests itself. For centuries, this green carpet was a symbol of abundance. If your pond had duckweed, it meant your water was alive. It meant you had free protein growing right outside your door. But as the modern world expanded, this wisdom was erased. We stopped looking at nature as a provider and started looking at it as a hindrance. We traded the eggs of the water for industrial soybeans. And in doing so, we created a vacuum. A vacuum that was quickly filled by a new industry, one that realized it could make a lot more money killing this plant than eating it. Why did we stop eating it? The answer is simple, brutal, and economic. You cannot patent a weed that grows in a ditch. You cannot sell seeds for a plant that multiplies itself. You cannot sell fertilizer to an organism that feeds on waste. There is no profit in abundance. But there is a fortune to be made in destruction. By labeling this plant a nuisance, the chemical industry created a global aquatic herbicide market valued at over $650 million a year. They engineered poisons with aggressive names like Duckweed and flumioxazin to wage war on your pond. But here is the dirty secret they don't want you to know. The war is rigged. It is designed to never end. Here is how the trap works. Industrial runoff from corn and soy fields fills our ponds with nitrogen and phosphorus. The duckweed, doing its job as nature's filter, blooms explosively to eat that pollution. The homeowner sees the green scum, panics, and buys the herbicide. The poison kills the plant. The plant dies and sinks to the bottom. But as it rots, it releases all those nutrients back into the water. And guess what happens next? The nutrients trigger a new bloom. The homeowner buys more poison. The cycle repeats. It is not pest management. It is a forever market. They are selling you the pollution that feeds the plant, and then selling you the poison to kill the plant. They profit at every stage of the destruction. We are trapped in a loop of chemical dependency, fighting against an organism that is actually trying to help us. Because while we are busy poisoning the water, this tiny plant is silently holding the key to the next chapter of human exploration. While homeowners are busy spraying poison, the world's smartest engineers are looking at the exact same plant with awe. In November 2023, a SpaceX rocket launched from Cape Canaveral, carrying a very special cargo to the International Space Station. It wasn't a new computer or a weapon. It was Wolffia Globosa duckweed. NASA and the European Space Agency didn't choose it by accident. They chose it because it is the only crop fast enough to keep humans alive on a 3-year mission to Mars. In the vacuum of space, you cannot afford waste. You need an organism that acts as a biological machine. And duckweed is perfect. It thrives on recycled wastewater. It needs no soil. And most importantly, it is a nutritional miracle. Analyze the tissue, and the results are shocking. This weed contains up to 45% protein by dry weight. That is higher than soybeans, higher than chicken, and higher than eggs. But the real surprise is what lies deeper in the cells. For decades, we were told that vitamin B12, the crucial nutrient for brain function, could only be found in meat. Vegans were told they had to take supplements. Duckweed shatters that myth. Researchers have found bioavailable B12 naturally occurring inside this plant. It is the holy grail of plant-based nutrition, complete protein omega-3s rivaling fish oil and essential vitamins, all packed into a sphere smaller than a grain of sand. The irony is unbearable. On Earth, in our advanced society, we classify this plant as a Tier 1 nuisance and poison it. In space, where survival is the only thing that matters, we classify it as the future of our species. The only difference is context. On Earth, duckweed competes with a $650 million herbicide market. In space, there is no market to protect only life. So if NASA is betting their lives on it, maybe it's time we stopped asking how to kill it and started asking how to bring it back into our homes. It seems like science fiction. A machine that turns wastewater into food, doubles its size every day, and keeps astronauts alive on Mars. But you don't need a billion-dollar rocket to find it. You just need to step outside. This space-age technology is likely floating in a ditch less than a mile from where you are sitting. In Vietnam, we have known it for generations as Bao Cam. We see it covering our village ponds, and we ignore it. Or worse, we use it only to feed pigs, believing it is too lowly for human consumption. We are walking past a diamond thinking it is broken glass. The revolution doesn't start in a laboratory. It starts in your backyard. Instead of fighting the green water, harvest it. A simple scoop, a rinse of fresh water, and you have a superfood that costs nothing. But there is one critical rule you must obey. Remember, this plant is a biological filter. It thrives by absorbing everything in the water, including heavy metals, bacteria, and agricultural toxins. If the water is toxic, the plant is toxic. Do not harvest duckweed from roadside ditches or polluted runoff ponds. You must grow it in clean water. Treat it with the respect of a cultivated crop, not a scavenger. It has a mild taste like watercress or spinach. You can blend it into a smoothie, stir it into a soup, or dry it into a protein powder that rivals anything you buy at a supplement store. By doing this, you are doing more than just saving money. You are breaking the cycle. Every time you harvest duckweed, instead of poisoning it, you are denying revenue to the chemical companies. Every time you eat protein from your own pond, you are reducing the demand for industrial soy that destroys rainforests. You are reclaiming your independence. So the next time you see that vibrant green film spreading across the water, do not be afraid. Do not call the exterminator. Smile. Because you know the secret. That is not a weed. That is dinner, and it is growing faster than you can eat it. If this video changed the way you see the world, subscribe to Ancestral Soil and ring the bell. The next secret is already waiting to be uncovered.